Welcome to the Den, the Dark Entertainment Network. I'm the Gothic Rose, and this is the dark tale of the day. Let me take this moment to reintroduce myself. I am the Gothic Rose, hostess of the Dark Entertainment Network. This is a channel where the news meets conspiracy theories and makes babies in my brain, and it comes out my mouth. I do this because I enjoy it. If you like this type of content, please follow along, because I'm not going to stop. Welcome back, fiends of the Den. Today we are talking the dark act of cannibalism, inspired by the fact that Armie Hammer was just on a podcast talking about this. Is he the world's most famous cannibal? There's also the story of Gilberto Valley, the cannibal cop ex-NYPD. You can hear both of those stories on the Hot Mess of Hollywood. There's also the story of Gilberto Valley, the cannibal cop ex-NYPD. You can hear both of those stories on the Hot Mess of Hollywood. There's also the story of Gilberto Valley, the cannibal cop ex-NYPD. You can hear both of those stories on the Hot Mess of Hollywood. There's also the story of Gilberto Valley, the cannibal cop ex-NYPD. You can hear both of those stories on the Hot Mess of Hollywood. Now let's talk all this dark, twisted, sordid information about cannibalism. So, starting with what this is, it refers to the practice of consuming another individual's flesh. It has historical, cultural, and survival aspects, making it a rich but macabre topic for storytelling. So, ritualistic cannibalism. Some societies practice cannibalism as a part of religious or ritualistic ceremonies, and this was sometimes believed to transfer strength or other qualities from the consumed to the consumer. That is dark and twisted, but that's very vampire drinking the blood to stay young kind of theory, except this is real and vampires are legend. Now, there's also survival cannibalism, as we know, with the Donner Party on the Oregon Trail and the plane crash that landed in the Andes Mountains in the 80s. Those were severe cases of survival cannibalism, and as unfortunate as it is, that is how those people survived. So this can also happen during famines, shipwrecks, or isolated expeditions where there are no other food sources available. Now, there are psychological aspects to it, like mental disorders, very rare cases. Cannibalistic behavior can be associated with severe mental health disorders, but there's also bath salts, the drug bath salts that make you eat people's face. It's like the zombie drug or the cannibal drug. And, there's the symbolism where cannibalism is often used in literature and media to discuss themes like power, survival, and the breakdown of societal norms. And there are so many examples of this in literature. In fiction, cannibalism has been explored by various works such as The Road by Cormac McCarthy and Hannibal by Thomas Harris. And of course, Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs and the film Ravenous delve into the dark allure and horror of cannibalism. So, I don't know about dark allure, but dark information definitely. Now, of course, it's one of the most universal taboos across cultures and strongly condemned and illegal in modern societies. And, these stories The main thing they do is they explore these complex moral questions, such as what one might do to survive under dire circumstances. I mean, I don't think the Naked and Afraid contestants would take to cannibalism, but who knows? Now that, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not even going to finish the thought. So, as I mentioned, the two most famous cannibal incidents are the Donner Party, and those were the years 1846 to 1847. And the Andes flight disaster was not the 80s, it took place in 1972. Now, there are a lot of cultures that have historical context with cannibalism. So the Fore tribe in Papua New Guinea, and they have practiced endocannibalism, where they consume the bodies of their deceased as a sign of love and respect, believing it prevented the corpses from rotting or being devoured by insects. There is the island Caribs in the Lesser Antilles, and they were known for their cannibalistic practices, which led to their name becoming synonymous with cannibalism. There's the Korowai tribe in Indonesian New Guinea, and they are one of the most well-known modern-day cannibalistic cultures. They practice it currently as a part of their traditional customs. And then we have the Agori monks in India. This is the northern part of India, and they are known for their extreme practices, including consuming human flesh as a part of their quest for enlightenment. Now, the ancient Egyptians and ancient Romans both occasionally practiced cannibalism during times of severe famine. And the Fijians, Fiji was once nicknamed Cannibal Isles, the Cannibal Isles, due to the prevalence of cannibalism among some of its indigenous tribes and the Amazon Basin tribes. This is various tribes in the Amazon Basin, and they have been documented practicing cannibalism, often as a part of warfare or ritualistic ceremonies. And consuming your enemies is called exo cannibalism. This is the retaliation and vengeance to gain strength from those consumed. And this is just such an odd thing, but we know that we have had modern day serial killers who were cannibals also. Most notably in the first Monsters series was Jeffrey Dahmer, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal. He committed multiple murders, acts of necrophilia, and cannibalism, and preserved the body parts of his victims in his freezer and consumed some of them. And then there is Armin Meiwes, also known as the Rottenberg Cannibal, and Meiwes gained notoriety for consensually consuming a willing volunteer he met through the internet. His case highlighted the legal and ethical complexities of consensual cannibalism. This is just an absolutely insane story. So, Armin Meiwes of Germany, he is a former computer repair technician, and he received international attention for murdering and eating a voluntary victim in 2001 whom he found via the internet. So, Meiwes and this victim jointly attempted to eat the victim's severed male part. So, not just Armin, but the victim himself both attempted to eat the severed male part. I don't even understand. This is so nuts. So then he killed this victim and proceeded to eat a large amount of his flesh, and he was arrested in December of 2002. In January of 2004, he was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 8 years and 6 months in prison. In a retrial in May 2006, he was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Because of his acts, Meiwes is known as the Rottenburg Cannibal, or Der Metzgermeister, the Master Butcher. The house where all of this took place was destroyed in a suspected arson attack that occurred in the early morning of April 17th, 2023. So that's many, many years later. But this is just absolutely the most insane story I've ever heard of modern day cannibalism. Worse than, well, no, not worse than Jeffrey Dahmer, but just as horrible. Just as horrible. Now, putting cultural motivations aside, let's talk what would make all of these aforementioned people do something like this. Well, psychologists suggest a range of motivations for cannibalism, from survival instincts to power dynamics and deep seated psychological disorders. Now, the psychological trauma experienced by survivors and witnesses of cannibalism is profound and long lasting, and often leads to severe PTSD and other mental health issues, which definitely would be depression, anxiety, panic attack, and all of that. Now, there is the mythical creature, the Wendigo. This is from Algonquin folklore. The Wendigo is said to embody the spirit of cannibalism and insatiable hunger. It is often depicted as a monstrous being with human characteristics, cursed by its taste for human flesh. And then, of course, there is the European story of Hansel and Gretel, and this includes elements of cannibalism. This is the witch who would kidnap the kids and fatten them up so she could cook them and eat them. Yeah, this was a story we heard as kids. No wonder why some of us have some trust issues, no? But while modern day society has largely condemned and eradicated cannibalism, isolated incidents and these fringe subcultures, and of course these tribes, occasionally bring it back into the spotlight. And this topic remains a powerful tool for exploring the darkest aspects of the human psyche in real life, in books, in movies, in podcasts like this. Now, I want to know what you all think about this subject. Do you feel that it was a little too taboo of me to touch on? I feel that it's important to talk about the fact that people will commit acts against human beings that are not only murdering them, but they will consume their flesh for a multitude of reasons. It's not a zombie thing. I don't mean to sound ridiculous about it. I'm just saying that the topic of cannibalism, knowing that there was an NYPD cop who fantasized about it, knowing that actor Armie Hammer was accused of being a cannibal, but also called himself 100% cannibal, and now wants the whole world to forget that and just move on, but he is still making movies. But there have always been rumors of cannibalism in Hollywood. There have always been rumors of people, children, going missing. The Red Shoe Club is allegedly red leather made from human flesh, and when you treat it, human flesh leather turns red. Definitely another deep dive into it, because people have said that that red flesh could be missing and exploited children, women, men. We don't know. This is all, of course, alleged. But I do have a dark theory, because I remember Chrissy Teigen asking someone if they would ever eat human flesh. And she said something to the effect of, I would try a little piece. And I thought that was really odd. And then we have all of these celebrities that push veganism. And my theory is that all of the celebrities that are vegans and not eating animal flesh is because they have consumed human flesh and they feel too guilty to ever eat flesh again. So let me know, fiends, what you think. And thank you for joining me in the den.